It's time for another review and ranking of Disney's wartime shorts. And after the last two films were set in Latin America, it's now time to head back to the good old US of A for some jazz music. Welcome to Make Mine Music. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. This way you'll be notified on YouTube whenever a new ranking comes out. And a new ranking comes out every week. Ish. So let's dim the lights. Well, that's better. And turn up the jazz. This is Make Mine Music. We're given an opening screen highlighting all the musical acts that we are soon to enjoy in this picture. This seems to be the first time Disney dipped into the pool of more contemporary works. We begin this picture with a couple birds flying. That's it. No storyline at all. And yet, I'm pretty fascinated by the beauty of it. I'm surprised I'm saying this, but I never felt sleepy once through the entirety of this film. That's saying something. We begin our first short, All the Cats Join In. This short is being animated even as we watch it. This is the kind of animation I've been waiting to see. It's fast-paced and it reminds me of the jazz band my extended family used to play for when I was a little boy. We quickly move into our next short, Casey at Bat. So this is why we have Casey's at Disney World.
Unbutton your shirt.
Awkward.
Every last inch of me's covered with hair.
We watch a baseball game and I miss the jazz music from before. We also have to sit through ridiculous gags again that have nothing to do with the storyline. It drives me crazy. Mighty Casey strikes out and he can't hit the ball. This is so hilarious. I don't understand why this short had to be included in the films or why it's even included in the parks, but I'm still gonna eat those hot dogs. We move into our next number, Two Silhouettes. This piece feels very 1960s, 1970s Variety Hour-esque, but it's still a very pretty piece. It also feels a lot more in theme than Casey at Bat does. Story of Peter and the Wolf. Peter is just a child and he goes to shoot a wolf. But he discovers what he thinks is a wolf is actually a duck named Sonia. Upon first viewing, I can deal with this short pretty well. It does have a few gags, but the gags seem to be more storyline driven, and so I can deal with that. The wolf tries to eat all three of the main characters, and I begin to start seeing a glimpse of the possibility of a dark universe for Disney. I feel on the edge of my seat not knowing which one of these characters is going to die next. It's a very enthralling feeling. But by the end of the short, my dreams of a Disney dark universe have been dashed. All three of the main characters are alive. The short still kept my attention though. After You've Gone begins. I love this music and the abstract animation. And Legs play the piano. This coming from things I never wanted to see from Sid's mutilated toy box. A Love Story is backed by the Andrews Sisters, and I do really love listening to their music. Two hats flirt together, are separated, and are brought back together by time. And it's a very touching clip. The fun is in the journey, so go watch it. Patronize your local library. Go on. This feels very much like one of those shorts you would watch before a Pixar movie. It's short, succinct, and makes you cry without even a word. It's pretty masterful. The Whale Who Wanted to Sing at the Met. What the heck kind of title is that? Pixar in recent years has had a great way of taking two completely opposite things and merging them together in some way that makes cohesive sense by the end. That's exactly what this short does. It has a few little jokes that are very much in the vein of the storyline. I especially like the uvula joke, which is completely not the way music works at all. But ultimately, this short is very moving in a very surprising way. I don't want to give it away for you because it is pretty cool to watch. Definitely go rent this movie and check out this scene. You won't regret it. Let's just say it's a deep way to end this movie, and that's not an ocean pun. Of course, being one of the wartime shorts movies, it is very much a disjointed film, and I don't like that at all about it, and it makes the storyline portion of this very difficult to judge. But as far as movies with disjointed storylines go, it held my interest pretty amazingly. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this movie, but being as objective as I possibly can be, I can't give this an incredibly high ranking, so it receives 5th place out of 8. This movie is a lot of things I wished Fantasia would have been, and that's saying quite a bit. Music. This music is definitely much more modern for the time, and I really enjoy that. It's probably the most modern movie up to this point in the Disney canon. And I have to wonder if that was in an effort to make the Disney brand as palatable as possible to a larger audience. The music of Blue Bayou is somewhat boring, even as the animation keeps it very interesting. We have several jazz interludes, and we have All the Cats Join In, which has really fun jazz music all the way through. It's fun, light, and upbeat. I have a feeling this would have been considered a somewhat controversial movie in the 40s, just simply by virtue of its use of jazz music. Much in the same vein as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was considered controversial for its use of rap music in the 90s. Out of all the pieces in this film, though, Casey at Bat is the one that I love to hate. And the music is no different either. Not a fan. In Peter and the Wolf, each character is represented specifically by a certain type of music. This is a very fascinating way to teach your average person about different motifs that can be used in movies. Musical themes really are important, especially in visual media. After You've Gone. This fast jazz music just makes me happy. That's it. If you want something deeper than that, go watch Lindsay Ellis. A Love Story. This music comes from the Andrews Sisters, and I love listening to them in this clip. This more contemporary for the time music really tells the story very well and is very enjoyable to listen to. The Whale Who Wanted to Sing at the Met is a very theatrical type song. It brings back a lot of feelings and sound that's similar to Poor Judd Is Dead from Oklahoma. It definitely has that musical theater vibe, and I'm sure that's 100% intentional. And the entire scene was done by one voice. I love that. As far as the music goes, it's everything that I would have wanted Fantasia to have been and more. But I can't put it any better than Bambi. So it receives 4th place for music. Animation. From the opening credits, this movie has a much more contemporary feel. It ranges in animation style from experimental to cartoonish, but each clip has its own very specific merits. Almost. Blue Bayou is beautiful and uses multiplane animation for a couple of shots, very effectively by the way. All the Cats Join In is very contemporary and fast-paced. It's also much more experimental, and I love how the characters are being drawn during the short. It's creatively fun, but the scene where the animated character gets out of the shower naked is almost inappropriate. Ballad in Blue begins with abstract representation and moves into minimalism. I'm okay with that. It's a very pretty short. Casey at Bat is a baseball game, and it sucks. Don't look for me to say something positive here. The Whale Who Wanted to Sing at the Met. The storyline is what drives this masterpiece, but I'm still not a fan of the animation. To my taste, I wish they would have animated this short in a more contemporary look, but somehow I think that may have taken away a little bit from its overall message. I love this animation. Kinda. I guess I have a love-hate relationship with it. I think it's very beautiful at certain times. And it's very experimental. And it's sometimes very bland. When I watch this animation, it's not that pretty to look at though. But the storylines are pretty strong from beginning to end. Almost. So I have to give Make Mine Music 6th place out of 8 for animation. Characters. The beginning of this movie has absolutely no characters. I suppose one of the positives of Casey at Bat is that we do finally get a character, although that character really has no identifiable character traits. The thing he does best though is expose how much male beauty standards, if that's the right word to use, have changed over the past 70 years. If you look at this picture of the ideal male beauty standard of the 1940s, 1950s, and you look at this picture of the ideal male beauty standard of today, this one looks a lot more attainable. And this one is also what we saw in this short. I gotta tell you, he makes me feel a lot better about all this than Zac Efron over here does. Yeah, I can't do that. There are a few characters that are somewhat developed. Peter is rebellious. Love Story develops characters without words, and as I said before, does it masterfully. Obviously, there is a few good things here, but there's not a whole lot you can do with character in clips that are only 10 or 15 minutes long. So, Make Mine Music receives 5th place for character. Technology. There is a lot of multiplane work with the storks at the very beginning, and I like how 2 actual silhouettes are used for this short. It's simple, contemporary, and fits with the grand music being played. However, this category is supposed to help movies that innovate have higher rankings also, even if they are older movies. In this case, there is no innovation. So Make Mine Music is given 8th place out of 8 for technology. Overall, almost every clip has very specific merits, but each clip also has very specific issues. For instance, Blue Bayou has beautiful animation, but boring music, while The Whale Who Wanted to Sing at the Met has a heart-wrenching storyline while having awful animation. As far as wartime shorts films go, this movie is incredible, but when compared to the rest of the Disney oeuvre, it's only marginally good. And marginally good isn't bad, it's just not really good either. Make Mine Music receives 6th place out of 8 for this week. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe for notifications. Also, likes and comments are appreciated. See you next week, ish.